Elon Musk's bold claim that Jesus was black, backed by presented evidence, has shaken centuries of tradition. Think about it. Is it possible that the face you were taught to revere is a complete lie? What are the proofs Elon Musk presents, and why has Jesus' image been rewritten? Join us as we analyze the evidence Musk has shared to assert that Jesus was black. Elon Musk often makes headlines by sharing his views on Jesus, his teachings, and even adding a touch of the Old Testament. He claims that Jesus was black and assures he has evidence to support it. Musk points to the book of Daniel, where the hair of the one who is to come is described. Some interpret this as an indication that his hair was curly. In the book of Revelation, it says Jesus' feet were like polished bronze, suggesting his skin was brown. Johanna Taylor, author of What Jesus Looked Like, agrees and argues that Jesus likely originated from modern-day Iraq, with dark brown hair and olive skin. According to Taylor, Jesus was probably a typical dark-skinned man, not the blonde, blue-eyed figure often depicted. This raises significant questions about how such representation could be an intentional misrepresentation. How did his image change? What you're about to hear could change everything you thought you knew. There is now a growing call for black people to rise and claim what is rightfully theirs. History has often minimized the contributions of black people to humanity and ignored the ancestral power of the black race. Although the Bible does not directly declare Jesus' race or skin color, it provides enough clues about his characteristics. For instance, in Revelation chapter 1 verse 15, it mentions, "His feet were like polished bronze." If you're familiar with bronze, you know it's brown, and when heated, it becomes even darker. Some might argue that Arab people from the Middle East, where temperatures reach up to 44 degrees Celsius in July and August, also have brown skin. However, these people only tan, and their skin tone doesn't match the color of polished bronze. If Jesus were from the Middle East, his feet should have been described as ivory, a yellowish-white color, or something similar to the typical skin tone of the region. People of African descent are much more compatible with this description. Thus, like other people of African descent, Jesus must have had at least brown skin. To delve further, let's look at another biblical verse, Revelation chapter 1 verse 13-14. In the midst of the lampstands, I saw someone like the Son of Man, dressed in a long robe with a golden sash around his chest. His hair was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like a blazing fire. Only the hair of black people, when it grows, resembles wool. The hair of Asians and Europeans is typically long, flowing, or wavy. However, the image of Jesus we see globally depicts him with blonde hair, even though the Bible says his hair was white in color and woolly in texture. What's interesting about studying the Bible is that the answers are often hidden in plain sight, but few readers notice them. In Daniel chapter 10 verse 5-6, Daniel describes a vision of Jesus. I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of fine gold around his waist. His body was like beryl, his face like the brightness of lightning, his eyes like flaming torches, his arms and legs like the gleam of polished bronze, and the sound of his words like the roar of a multitude. In this verse, not only are Jesus' feet described as bronze-colored, but also his arms and legs. A person's arms and legs are the same color as the rest of their body, indicating that Jesus was a black man. Another clue is found in Genesis chapter 49 verse 10-12, which refers to the birth of Christ. The scepter will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until he to whom it belongs shall come, and the obedience of the nations shall be his. This same passage mentions that his eyes were darker than wine. While dark eyes are common among all races, this description challenges the image of a blue-eyed Jesus that has been widely accepted for centuries. 1 Corinthians 11:14 also states that nature itself teaches that long hair is disgraceful for a man. This verse suggests that long hair was not natural for ancient Hebrews, and artificially growing it was considered a violation of the wool-like natural texture. What's even more fascinating is that the Bible gives no indication that Jesus had Caucasian or European features. The depiction of Jesus in the ancient Hebrews as white began to become common during the Renaissance. Based on biblical evidence, it is much more accurate to say Jesus was black than any other race. There is further historical evidence and icons of a black Jesus. The oldest known image of Christ, discovered in Syria around 235 AD, depicts him with short, curly hair and dark skin. This contrasts with the Western depiction of a light-skinned Jesus with brown or blonde wavy hair and blue eyes. The biblical world existed before the prejudice of color. While Jesus represents all races, historically, he had to belong to one. Icons of black Jesus have been preserved in Coptic and Ethiopian Orthodox churches. The way Jesus' image was taken and altered is one of the greatest intellectual thefts in history. It all began around the 1st century AD when Christians started painting Jesus with the appearance of Greek and Roman gods to attract more followers. However, Jesus' image should not be limited to racial representation. It is essential to understand the implications of these alterations. The historical Jesus was a revolutionary, a compassionate leader, and someone who shared the suffering of the marginalized. The conversation about Jesus' true image is not just historical or theological but deeply relevant to today's society. Reflect on this. Share your thoughts.